I am live on YouTube, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me here on this Saturday evening. I hope you are doing well out there. I did want to get on here and do a briefing here on the main channel for what is on the way as we kind of make our way into the evening and overnight hours of tonight, because we have a very dangerous atmospheric river that's going to kind of onset here over parts of the western United States. But we're also watching a system over the central and southern corridor. So I've got kind of the details on everything here, and we're going to break it down for you, question and answering everything that you need to know right here in this stream. So if you're watching right now and you'll hit that like button for me, really helps me out here to share this stream and kind of get it out to more people as well. So that is really beneficial. So if you'll do that for me, if you're watching at this point, that is great. But thank you so much for joining me this evening, and let's go ahead and get right into it. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. Best way to support the channel, subscribing and the super thanks. All right, let's get right into it here. Let's play things out. Here we go. This is kind of what we've got going on this evening. We've got kind of heavier precipitation. This is actually what we're looking at right now, is as we head towards, say, 2 a.m. tonight Central Time, and this is some pretty decent rainfall that's going to be extending from parts of the Central Plains all the way on down there into parts of Arkansas, all the way down into Mississippi, Alabama, and far western Florida Panhandle here. Okay, so we'll be watching that rainfall in that zone. We've got this heavy snow that's going to break out here over parts of Montana, Idaho, and on down there into Wyoming, as well as northwestern parts of Colorado there. And we've also at least got some precipitation hitting that west coast and starting out this evening. This is going to be some very heavy rain. We're going to see very, very heavy snow up there, and I emphasize very for a reason. This is some very heavy precipitation that's going to be hitting Sierra Nevada range as we make our way overnight tonight and into tomorrow morning, continuing to play that out. That snow there on that rain-snow line there is going to be quite heavy, and you know this is some pretty heavy snow because it's going to push all the way there into western Nevada as well. So if you're on that I-80 corridor heading into Reno tomorrow morning, that is some very heavy snowfall. But look at this, San Francisco to Sacramento, some very heavy downpours and heavy rainfall moving through those zones. So be ready for that, and just kind of be ready for the system as a whole, because this is a very dangerous one about to hit the west coast. Meanwhile, tomorrow morning, we've still got snow up there in Montana, northwestern Wyoming. We've still got rain down here over the Central Plains, as well as on down there closer to the Gulf Coast. So that's kind of what we're watching here in the near term. Again, drop any questions you got in the chat. I keep hearing different people say that soon the entire continental United States will be snow-covered. Any truth to that? Hope not. No. You know what? There's been so much clickbait. It really is crazy. And to be honest with you, occasionally I do make clickbait titles and thumbnails. I'm not going to shy away from the fact that I do that occasionally, okay? So just kind of keep that in mind. But there are times when I'll sit here and I'll be like, you know what? This is, I don't know, at times I just feel like there's just way too much clickbait going on out there just around the country. And you know, there are these videos that'll pop up and it'll say like huge snow signals on the way, and then video by video people will just kind of shy away from what they were talking about with the snow. If I see a snow signal, I let you know. If I see it go away, I'll quickly let you know. I'm not going to act like it's still possibly there. Oh wow, thank you for the donation in the chat, K Kings. Really appreciate it. $1.99 donation. Thank you so much for that. That is really generous of you. The first super thanks here on the channel. Yeah, no snow in Texas doesn't surprise me. I'm not expecting any snow in Texas over the course of the next few days. Let's continue to play this on out. Here we go. I'm playing this out as we head. Let's see, this is as we're going through our Sunday afternoon. I think we're going to see some rain stretching through parts of the southeastern United States, but what I actually kind of skipped over a little bit here is this right here, and you can see that little line of storms that moves through parts of South Florida tomorrow mid-morning. That's going to be capable of producing some flooding, maybe some brief severe weather as well down there, from Port St. Lucie down to Miami especially. That's where the risk is going to be. Some of these cells up here further north, though, at least deserve some attention. Not to say, though, that those ones further Still, though, the ones further south are the stronger ones. But look at this. By the time we head towards midday tomorrow over the west, I mean, things are just cranking on up. Up there in the parts of California, western Nevada as well. Look at this. I mean, that is, you can see that low-pressure signature on screen right there. That is just a very feisty and a really nasty storm to be looking at here. You can clearly see. I mean, I've done those little tidal waves, looking at low pressure systems, and put those in my thumbnails before. And let me tell you, this pretty much looks like a tidal wave right here, and it's crashing on shore. It's going to bring some big waves on shore as well. Don't recommend getting near the water here along the west coast at all. Snow up there through the high elevations of California and into Nevada as well as the system kind of pushes on in. And as we take a look, I want to show you something here with that day 2 flood threat over this region. I am really concerned about flooding that's going to get going here into California, and to kind of see that here, we're going to actually just kind of turn off the radar for a second so we can, let's just turn on, we'll turn on this. Here we go. Actually, sorry, I'm turned on the wrong thing. Let's turn, there it is, freezing rain. We're not getting any freezing rain. Let's turn that on. All right, here we go. Now you can see that flood threat as we make our way into our Sunday here. This is some really heavy precipitation that's going to start spreading in, and this is going to be some nasty stuff down here just northwest of Los Angeles region. I mean, Santa Clarita on over there to Santa Maria. Both of these areas, this is some really heavy rain that's going to be coming on down through Santa Barbara as well. So if you live in this US 101 corridor, up there to State Highway 33, there's a little freezing rain that could happen there as well. But really concerned about the onshore push and the very heavy rainfall that's going to initiate. Oh, another $1.99 donation from the same person. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I'm glad to bring you the weather information. Just there northwest of Los Angeles there. I'm into the Santa Barbara area. That's where we've got that risk, pretty much at the higher end at this point. So just kind of keep that in mind for the flood threat tomorrow. But again, it stretches all the way on up to San Francisco, and I think the heaviest rain in the morning is going to be closer to San Francisco. And then as the day goes on, we kind of see these bands and the banding head a little bit further south, and we're going to kind of play this out further. Yep, you can see that there as the day goes on. We kind of get this training band, and that lasts all the way into our Monday here. So here's the overall playthrough. Again, overnight tonight, some rain pushes in, but it's going to be some of these cells later tomorrow afternoon and into the evening that I'm really concerned about down there. But through San Francisco, through Sacramento, just be aware of the flood threat over this region. And of course, we're also looking at wind gusts as well, and they're going to be on the feistier side as this system pushes in. I mean, just look at these wind gusts. Anything in these reds up here is at least 40, 50 miles per hour. We're looking at a big zone with some extremely strong winds and dangerous winds at that. High terrain, of course, of the Sierras is going to push hurricane force there east of Sacramento. The HRRR showing hurricane force gusts not out of the question. And again, we're watching that rainfall that's going to accumulate so quickly as well out of this very system. I'm continuing to play this on out. Let's do so. And let's here we go. The run's kind of processing there. Here's where that rainfall is showing up on the HRRR, and I pretty much think, remember, this is, you can still see the outlines here of those risk zones, and there's where that high risk is. That is a level 4 out of 4 risk from the Weather Prediction Center itself, telling us that there's going to be flooding tomorrow, pretty much guaranteed over here in Santa Barbara, California, over to Santa Clarita as well. Look at these totals that the HRRR is projecting in local amounts here. Some of these spots pushing, look at that number right there on your screen, 12.26 inches of rain. I'm not saying that's going to happen. That would be the extreme high end, I think. But just to see the fact that, these reddish colors that are quite widespread in that high-risk area, this right here, all of this is about half foot of rain to 10 inches of rain. That is a lot of rain. That is why we're worried about flooding. Areas around Los Angeles picking up upwards of 3 to 4 inches of rainfall. I'm really concerned about that as well, especially just north of town. But don't sleep on the precipitation that's going to be happening up here throughout the day on Sunday closer to Sacramento, some areas north and west of there. Closer to 3, 4, 5 inches of rain. That's going to be just north of Santa Rosa as well, and up there towards Clear Lake. San Jose down here in California, some spots 2 to 4 inches. I think that's going to be a decent average there. And again, we're watching these local zones on the coast for the heaviest of that precipitation now. Why I don't worry about that snow or that rain up there in the Sierras? Yeah, I just gave away what I was about to say. Of course, that is falling as snow. Here's how much snow this could fall as. And yes, this is quite a lot of snowfall. Some spots picking up close to 4 feet of snowfall up here, so just southwest of Bridgeport there, near Mammoth Lakes as well, some just extremely heavy snowfall is going to hit the Sierra Nevada range there. We're kind of watching up there into the parts of the northern California as well. So just kind of keep that in mind, kind of as we go through time here. So let's go back on over, and let's go to Weather Bell here. You can get a free trial to these maps that I'm about to show you in the description. And let's go to that. We're taking a look right now at this picture on your screen right now. Don't forget to drop any questions you have in the chat. But here's what we've got going on. Again, you can see this very heavy surge of precipitation on up there into the western United States as we make our way here into our Sunday midday. So keep this in mind. If you're along that California coastline, I would get ready here for that worst of these impacts to be pushing on shore throughout our Sunday, okay? So just be ready for the very heavy precipitation to be hitting there. We've got this rain that's going to stretch from the Central Plains all the way on down to parts of Florida as well at the same time. And again, through the day tomorrow, we're going to be kind of watching this zone right in here. That's kind of what we're going to be watching right there for the potential of some stronger storms through the day on our Sunday here. Just a second. Let's get this pulled up. All right. Oh, I've got another donation in the chat. When will it start getting warmer in the south? Great question. Let's take a look at that while you have the question. Thanks again for another donation. So the grand total from you is pretty much about $9 or what, $10 close to it, right, with the 99-cent added on. Anyway, let's take a look at the temperatures here that we've got going on. First of all, it's warmer than average over a lot of the country right now. And let me know if you have any additional questions after this as well, but let's talk about this real quick, and then we'll get kind of back to what I was talking about a second ago. It's a little cooler than average as we start the week here in the south, and that's due to that low pressure system. So if you live here, especially close into Alabama, Georgia, on down into Florida, we're going to kind of get that northerly push that's going to sink on further south, okay? So watch that precipitation that's going to move like so. Or the cold air that's going to move like so. But as the week goes on this week, we're going to notice warmer than average air that's eventually going to build on in. And I'm going to show that to you right here. It's somewhat warm over the south the last couple of days, depending on where you live. But look at this, how this picks on up. This is as we head towards the end of this week, especially on up here through parts of Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and into Tennessee. That's where it's going to be really a good bit warmer than average. But all the way on over here into the Carolinas, Virginia, 5, 10, 15 degrees above normal. And here's what this is going to equate to with afternoon high temperatures. Or kind of amount to. This is an example high as we head into Friday afternoon. All of these yellowish colors are where we're at least 60 degrees. So this entire area is at least 60 degrees. It's pretty close to it, or in the 50s pretty much over a whole big chunk of the southeastern United States at the same time, though. So great question about the warmth in the south. I mean, there's Wednesday afternoon. You can just see how a lot of the south filling up with these warmer than average temperatures. If you have an exact location you want me to give that to you as well, I can do so. But just across pretty much a good bit of the southeastern United States, it's going to be a pretty warm week across that region. And I do foresee some colder air eventually taking hold. But I mean, here we go. Look at this. This is as we head towards, say, Saturday afternoon, this upcoming Saturday. So a week from today. Look at this. This entire quarter, at least in the 60s. Down here in the parts of Texas and the Gulf Coast, that's probably some 70s getting in the mix in there as well. So just, it's getting warmer than average over a good bit of the country at this point. So I hope that answers your question there at this point. But let's go back over now to what we were looking at with the precipitation at this point. And again, as we go through the day tomorrow, we're really worried about that rain and wind that's going to hit the California, Nevada, all those areas. Again, notice as we head Sunday and into Monday, we kind of get the tattered remnants of that low pressure system to fall off the southeast coast like so. And that's going to kind of, eliminate that storm from our problems here, so to speak. And then where's the storm that's slamming the west coast that I just talked about going to go? Well, here we go. This is as we head towards the mid to late part of this week. It's going to take a little while for this to kind of transition into a zone across the plains. And let's kind of show this to you here. Look at this, some snowfall breaking out here over parts of the Rockies. We might get some on and off light to moderate snow over a lot of the Rockies and the Mountain West through this week. A little bit of rain. We get a little southerly push. Again, it's going to be quite warm compared to average here over the plains as we head through this week. So this is as we go towards Thursday. We might get a little bit of a cold front here, and this isn't going to be a really strong one or anything, but you can see there's kind of that boundary here. I don't think this is going to be bringing much cold air actually behind it in comparison to average at least, but this is a 988 millibar low up here, yet it's kind of a tattered low pressure system, so it looks feisty. It's not necessarily extremely strong overall, and that southern end doesn't look too feisty, but with a system like this, you kind of see this outline here, right along here. That's where I'd watch for at least some thunderstorms to get embedded in this line. And if we take a look at the severe weather parameters here on the Euro, we can kind of see where that lightning flash rate is indicated. And at this point, we don't actually see any lightning out of this, so we would have to see, but you see that little flash up there closer to the Ohio Valley with warm air being pulled that far north, and I was showing you 50s and 60s trying to push as far north as the Ohio Valley and towards the Great Lakes maybe. That's where I would kind of at least think about the potential for thunderstorms that far north. Would they be severe? Probably not. But could there be storms that far north? Not out of the question. Looking at the storm energy that we get here in terms of surface cape, I mean, again, you can kind of see with that same front, we get just the smallest little piece of storm energy. And I mean, the scale goes all the way on up to like 6,000 here, and we're looking at energy around 300. So this is not much at all. But nonetheless, this is some storm energy, and we'll have to watch kind of that front mid to late week next week as it heads in that direction. Now, as we go back on over here, and we start playing this out a little bit further, as we head through the late week time frame and into Friday and into Saturday, again, we might get out of this low pressure system some snow. Watch this zone for some snow potential out of it. Pretty much everyone else is at least the potential for some scattered rainfall, and we're still kind of ironing out those details, of course. It does look like pieces of this could be in the northeast and southeastern coast of the United States as we head towards Saturday and Sunday. But look at how the Euro kind of has that energy just kind of transpiring into a new system very quickly that starts moving over Missouri as we head towards Sunday the 11th. And we're looking pretty far out at this point, but it does show some snow now as far south as Nebraska and Iowa. Some storms now through Arkansas and Tennessee. So we're making some improvement, right? At this point, instead of seeing snow up here as far south as South Dakota and Minnesota, now we're looking at Nebraska and Iowa. Will the next one bring it into Kansas and Missouri? Maybe. We don't really know. But you can see that one heads out. And then after that, we do notice these blue lines here. These are kind of where we're indicating those freezing lines. Those are a little bit further south, kind of eventually behind that system at the end of next weekend. So we'll see if that one pulls some cooler air southward. And with the temperature anomalies at that point, here's what the Euro wants to show for that. And it does show a small splash of some colder than average air, not a cold air outbreak at that time, but you can see a little bit of cool air. The low would be kind of stationed right here. That's why it's warmer than average along that corridor. And then high pressure ridging with El Nino continues up there over the south central Canadian regions. So that's kind of what we're looking at in that regard. So we'll have to see. We get the warm up, and then we might actually end up eventually kind of getting that cool down aspect of things as we head towards mid to late February. And that's kind of what I've been hinting at for a little while here. But let's take a look at that National Weather Service hazards map at this point. Oops, let's get back off of that. On over here into parts of California, I'm really concerned about the threat for very high winds out of this oncoming system. And again, you can really see that they're indicated by these deeper orange colors. That's where we've got those high winds. Of course, look at those pinks indicating those winter storm warnings as well. All of this very dangerous weather. Flash flood watches closer to the coast. And then, of course, we've also got some wind and fire alerts down here in the parts of Texas. That's what we've got going on right there. So keep that in mind in the near term. But down the line, do we ever cool back down and get the chance for snow to kind of take back control? I do think we do eventually. Here's what the Euro ensembles are showing. So this is as we make our way. It's going to say February 15th on the left menu. But this is just as we had the 8th through the 15th, your anomaly kind of here. Look at this. You see that cold air kind of damming up against this high pressure right here. You get that cold air blasting on in like this into the west. Eventually, that cold air is probably going to head eastward, but you don't really know when. But you do see this here as we head towards, say, the 18th of February here. This is 2 weeks out. Colder air tries to fill in here over the southeastern United States. But if we take a look at precipitation at the same time that happens, is your anomaly of precipitation as that cooler air fills in really good? Not really. Look at this. Pretty much all the precipitation appears to be further confined down here close to the Gulf Coast. So that's not really an ideal snow setup. So when you've got, I talk about these clickbait titles and thumbnails myself, and I get worried. About all these clickbait and everybody talking about huge snows. I mean, I had that comment at the start of this video, a rightful concern about snow covering the entire U.S. because people are talking about that, happening, most of the U.S. getting covered in snow. You got to look not just at the cold air, but you got to look at these precipitation anomalies. And if the only place where it's wetter than average is down here on the Gulf Coast, and the areas that you'd look for snow with cold air in place, which is right here in this drier air section, well, then you're probably not getting many systems moving through when it's colder than average. But here's the but that could bring that potential for that snow eventually here. Look at how this cold air kind of lingers in place. This is as we head the 17th through the 24th of February. And then your precipitation anomaly looks like this. We at least try to see the drier pockets go away, and we see a little bit more in the way of kind of moisture trying to move on up the East Coast. So I do think at some point, as we head towards mid to late February, we're going to see areas, not just up here over the north central plains, get some light to moderate events, but I think we'll also see events try to spread into areas like so that I'm circling right now. So keep that in mind, and that potential for that to occur with time. LA Tours by Rain Maves in the chat. Can we talk about Thursday, please? Yes. Thanks for the great question. Let's talk about Thursday and what's going on with the weather. Up there over the upper Midwest, I know you tell me you live in Wisconsin, so let's get you that forecast up there over that region, and let's talk about that. So let's head on over to the precipitation here and kind of get you that question answered. And then we've also got another chat in the question in the chat that I will get to as well in just a minute. This run is not going to get out that far, but here's what we've got with the Euro that came out just earlier this afternoon. Playing this out. This is as we go Thursday. And yeah, I see why you're talking about that there in a place like Wisconsin. LA Tours by Rain Maves. I do think you could get a little bit of rainfall out of this system. It's still a little certain which side of this you'll be on, but overall with the overwhelming warm air that's moving up over parts of the plains, I would not kind of really expect a huge snow event or anything in a place like Wisconsin, but you can see precipitation filling in. So late Thursday going into Friday here is when it looks like you might get a little bit of rainfall there through Wisconsin. Nothing heavy, probably not in a sector where you would be really worried about tornadoes either. So kind of just in a neutral section of this storm system that looks like it could come later this week. Just Hoops TV, will it be rainy on Saturday next week? Let's take a look at where it will be raining across the country as we head into the Saturday time frame. This is just with one model, the Euro, the trustier one, though, of the models. Euro kind of showing areas with rainfall filling in like so as we head in towards our Saturday. Some snowfall back here into the Mountain West. You can see that there. A pretty active week overall in the Mountain West, to be honest with you. A little bit of snowfall, maybe wrapping around that low pressure system here into parts of Minnesota. And yes, Wisconsin, LA Tours by Rain Maves, talking to you for a second. But back to your question, Just Hoops TV. For the rain, areas on the East Coast need to at least watch the chance for some rainfall precipitation as we head towards next Saturday. And I can show you here what the European ensembles are showing for the precipitation chance as we make our way through our Saturday. And here's what this is looking like for the probability of some rainfall in a 24-hour period. Let's go back on over to the 12Z run here. And this is what we've got. I'm playing this out further. Watch kind of as we head. There we go. This is as we head through the Saturday afternoon time frame, and it shows particularly areas. These ensembles are actually a little bit behind that Euro model itself, showing areas from parts of Pennsylvania and Ohio down to Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, getting in on that chance for some precipitation there. And it's about 70% according to these models at this point. So that's where the best chance at this point for some precipitation is, and some decent precipitation at that. In that time frame, the chance for half an inch of rain, let's see where the chance for the heaviest rain might occur out of this system. It looks like late next week into next weekend, so this is as we go through Saturday. It looks like it'll be confined down here over the south central part of the United States. Do I think Hickory, North Carolina, will see any snow in the next month, because you've been waiting forever? I feel, to be honest with you, I feel really bad myself missing out on snow in the Carolinas myself. And, to be honest with you, I don't see any near-term chances through at least February 15th. We can take a look at the probabilities of winter precipitation at this point. Well, let's go and look at this probability of snowfall of at least 1 inch. Here's what these ensembles are showing. All the way through 360 hours out, pretty much none of North Carolina, unless you're in Appalachia, showing any sort of snowfall or chance at all on ensemble models. And I don't see anything through at least, say, February 18th, like what we're looking at right now. I think the last 2 weeks of the month are going to be when we have to watch. So from the 18th onward, I think it's going to be cooler than average, as it looks right now, sometime around the 18th or just thereafter. And we'll have to see if any snowstorm would be supported. But I was kind of showing a minute ago with that precipitation anomaly average. Looks like it could get just a little bit wetter than average here over parts of the Carolinas, Georgia, on down to Florida as well. In this zone I'm circling at the very end of the month. And that could correlate with a snow chance, but I don't see one over the next couple of weeks, to answer your question. And I definitely don't think there will be one within the next week, that's for sure. So keep that in mind. So let's kind of go on over now to the European weeklies and look at that cold air. And let's go to precipitation, winter, snowfall 7-day. Here are these zones these longer range ensembles are showing. You kind of notice they continue to show at least something trying to get going here in the eastern zones of the United States. And this is just kind of generic, honestly, to be looking at. And I don't want to feel like any sort of clickbaiter or, snow supporter over here. But no, to answer your question with honesty, do I think Hickory, North Carolina will see any snow in the next month? I would say the chances may be 10 to 20% as I see it right now. And if it happens, it's going to be towards the end of the month. Problem is, below average with time actually means pretty much the same temperatures, right? Because your averages are actually going up at this time of the year. So, I don't know. I just, Hickory, North Carolina, I just really don't think your chances as elevated as you might hope. But great question. If anybody else has any questions, please drop those in the chat. Thanks again to K Kings, who was on here earlier. K_Kings with two $1.99 donations, $1.99 donations, and then a $4.99 donation there. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much for that earlier in the stream, if you're still on here. By the way, here's the rainfall we've got coming over the next just a couple of days while I wait to see if I get any more questions. Heaviest rainfall again, just slamming California. I was showing you those localized totals earlier. It's going to be really bad here along the coastline. So get ready for that. Also watching the precipitation down here over the southeast, some local areas picking up heavier totals there. So find your city, find your town. The key, though, is on your screen right now, so you can see that color code, and I'll leave it up for just a second so you can kind of see what the precipitation aspect of things is looking like here across the country. But also notice that little sliver of precipitation up there into parts of Kansas and Nebraska. Actually, what I want to look at now as well is the snowfall, because we're getting some decent snowfall up there into Montana, Idaho, Wyoming next couple of days. Yep. Let's get back here to this time frame. Yep, over the next 48 hours, here's our snow. Huge snow in the Sierras, 3+ feet. In a lot of the Sierras in that zone I just circled, but also watching up here through Idaho, Montana there, into the Rockies as well, with the snow. And you can see those pink areas. That's where we could locally pick up a foot of snow. Let's zoom in. U.S. states. Let's go in Why don't we pick Idaho? Idaho, it's your lucky day. Here's your snow over the next 48 hours. Down here, south central Idaho, getting some pretty decent snowfall there. But yeah, drop any questions you got in the chat. And we've already talked about, if you're just joining me here, we've been talking about the precipitation about to hit the west, the pattern through this week, the potential for maybe snow down the line, but being way too hopeful with that probably. So let me know what questions you have. But let's go on back over here. And I'm just going to sit on the screen and see if we got any questions here. If we don't, I'll end the stream as always. But I never end the stream until I'm done with answering questions and talking with people. So please drop those questions in the chat if you have any. Do you think South Carolina will see any snow this year? To be honest with you, I was just talking about Hickory, North Carolina a little bit ago. Chances at this point are just continually going down for the Carolinas to get any sort of snow. I mean, it's definitely not coming over the next, couple of weeks. So if we're going to get any snow, it's going to be sometime February 15th through 30th, maybe. Chances are very low at this point across the Carolinas. But there will be cooler air probably later in the month compared to average. So we might get, it's warming up this week in the southeast. You might actually get cooler than that later in February just because of the pattern. But it's not really going to be favorable for snow, I don't think. But I will let you know what's going on if there does happen to be a snowstorm that heads towards the southeast. K_Kings, you did amazing tonight. I appreciate all the knowledge you give to me. Thanks so much for that and for your donations earlier. I really appreciate it. Can't thank you enough. But yeah, that seems like pretty much all the questions we're going to get here because I mentioned to drop those questions a few minutes ago. Got those good questions in here from Eva, Tours by Rainwave, Just Hoops TV, Crazy Path YouTube, Film and Tech, K_Kings. Also, Debbie Settles earlier in the stream. So thank you to everybody for dropping those questions in the chat tonight. That's going to be it with this stream, and I hope everyone has a great Saturday. I should be back with a video later tomorrow afternoon, so look forward to that. And I might post one on the Extra channel tomorrow morning, by the way, early in the morning with an update. So make sure you subscribe to that. That is ONW Beyond, and it is on the main page of my channel.